ربي حسبي ربي حسبي ربي حسبي ربي جل الله لا إله إلا الله على الهادي صلى الله لا إله إلا الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greeting of peace and blessing be upon you. It's Friday night, 9 p.m. and that means one thing. I mean business. Every week on I Mean Business we usually have a guest, a specialist in a particular field, whether it's marketing or finance. This week, I promised you last week, I was going to bring a special guest again to talk about the budget that just happened just yesterday actually. It was announced yesterday. Is a tax expert, he's been on the show before, and it's none other than Tahir Begg. Assalamu alaikum, Tahir. Welcome on the show again.
Thank you. Glad to be back again.
So, what's in the budget for me, darling?
Not much, Sammy.
Not much?
No. That's the simple answer. When Alistair sort of announced his budget on the 24th, we had to bear in mind that, of course, there's the election which is looming. The country has got a deficit. This year it's about projected at about 167 billion. But when the long-term projections come, it's up to 2015 is projected at 1.4 trillion pounds. Whoa. So, you know, it's not petty cash. The economy, when you look at it, it's we can see the green shoots of recovery, so hopefully it will pick up. But when you take all these factors into account, there is not much that the Chancellor could do in the budget. So to answer your question, I'm afraid there's not much for you, darling.
So the budget was announced yesterday, was it? On
the 24th, Wednesday.
Wednesday,
yes.
Right, okay. And has anything changed from personal allowance or
yes.
They've just kept everything, they froze everything and said, right, it's going to be just a...
Yes, it's more or less, you're absolutely right. As far as the personal allowances are concerned, they were announced in the pre-budget way back in December 2009. And that is basically frozen. So all the allowances, which is your personal allowance, 6,475, that's going to be the same. But you know, if you actually examine it, and we say that inflation is running at, say, 2 or 3%, then if you adjust it for inflation, that means you're going to lose 2 or 3% next year, because the allowance remains the same, while the cost of living is going up by 2 or 3%.
Yeah.
So yes, as far as you and me are concerned, I'm assuming you're under 65.
I am under 65.
Thank you.
Not far to go.
Because if you are over 65, the allowance is slightly higher, so and even that is frozen.
Have they improved that?
No, they haven't.
They haven't improved
that,
right,
that still remains. So as far as the allowances are concerned, that remains the same. The basic tax rate remains the same, which is 20%. But if you are a higher rate taxpayer,
40%?
40%.
Right.
And then from the 6th of April, if you earn more than 150,000, you will be 50%. So that's going to be the highest rate. So now we have 3 rates, 20%, 40%, and 50%. But to really add insult to injury, if you earn more than 100,000 pounds, then slowly that personal allowance which we have spoken about, 6,475, that is slowly going to be eroded away as well. So by the time you earn about 112,950, there will be no personal allowances for you whatsoever. But that's what is in the budget, you know. So which category do you fall in, 150,000 or 100,000?
No comment on that. But most of the people that watch the show, they want to be on the high band, but they don't want to pay the 50%. And
well, one way of looking at it is if they are in that
they will need you to give them some tax planning.
Yes, but more importantly, they would need to talk to their own accountant. one of the advice that we give to our clients who are in that category is, instead of taking your bonus after the 6th of April 2010, if you can take the bonus this year, before that, the tax year, in this current tax year, you will not be paying tax at 50%, you will be paying tax at 40%. So there is a bit of tax planning to be done to try and take that remuneration earlier rather than postpone it into the later tax year, where you could end up paying tax at 50%, or even, as I said, if your earnings go over £100,000, you could lose your personal allowance. And of course, with that, there are certain restrictions which have come on your pension contributions as well. So all those things need to be taken into account.
Right. So that's on the personal side, someone that's actually an employee or is a sole trader.
Yes.
Just working for themselves, self-employed. How about a business like a limited company? Is there any incentives from the government for, starting up a business, or, for a current medium-sized or small-sized business?
Yes. Well, if you look at start-up businesses, you might have heard, and when I first heard the Chancellor say that there will be small rates exemption, and I thought, well, that's fantastic. And when you start looking at the fine print, when it says small business rates exemption, it's actually for businesses with rateable value of up to £6,000. So that's really very, very insignificant.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it says for new businesses. So, it's totally new startups. I suppose one could always argue that something is better than nothing.
That's right.
So, yes, that is a bit of help. There are a lot of our viewers who perhaps are thinking of starting up a business, and this is, I would say, something in the right direction. And we, in this program, I know you've done programs whereby you are encouraging the community not to be reliant on the state, but to actually stand up on their own feet. And these are some of the small opportunities which are available, and people should really take up these opportunities and utilize them.
That's
right. But just on the other side, you mentioned about businesses and limited companies. Well, the limited company, the corporation tax has remained at 21%. So that hasn't gone up for small companies. Now, people like you, who are making over £300,000 profit, your companies will end up paying 28% corporation tax.
Right.
So that is a bit of an incentive for small businesses to, either start their own businesses, or if they have got profits, their tax rates are not that high. But as far as the individuals are concerned, I think this has been a budget where some of the well-off, and well-off, when I say well-off, people who have got taxable earnings over 100,000, 150,000, they feel that they have been specifically targeted with the abolition of the personal allowance, a restriction of the pension contribution tax relief, and of course if you are over 150,000, then you end up paying 50% of your income in tax. But let me tell you further, this is not the end of the story. My own personal view is that going forward, our tax burden is likely to increase. I mean, I'm not the Chancellor, so I'm not going to say what the rate is going to be. But the way the finances are, and if you are running this, and if you look at your own sort of account and you say, well, I've got this massive overdraft in my bank, how can I bring it down? Then you can understand why the Chancellor is doing what he is doing. And going forward, I would say that they have already been announced that from April 2011, for example, the national insurance is going to increase by 1 percentage point, both for the employee and for the employer.
Now, let's just cover that quickly on the national insurance. For someone that's self-employed, where most of the viewers are interested in becoming self-employed, you pay two types of national insurance. You pay Class 2 and Class 4.
That's right, yes.
What's changed? In Class 2, you have to pay like a weekly amount.